Following 18 months of battling in Ukraine, Russia needs to renew its provisions of ammo for what could be a long conflict of wear and tear. Alongside sloping up its homegrown arms creation, Moscow is going to an old partner with an immense stockpile, North Korea. Gauges say the hermetic and separated Asian nation has a huge number of big guns, shells, and rockets that could give a gigantic lift to the Russian armed force. U.S. authorities expect North Korean pioneer Kim Jong-un to visit Russia before long to make a weapons deal with President Vladimir Putin. That would be a noteworthy inversion from the 1950-53 Korean conflict, when the Soviet Union gave the Socialist North weapons and ammunition. We realize that Russian protection pastor Sergei Shoigu has visited as of late for gunnery shells overwhelmingly, and in all probability that will be examined among Putin and Kim Jong-un, said Alexander Gabuev, head of the Carnegie Russia-Eurasia Center. Shoigu turned into the principal Russian protection boss to visit North Korea since the 1991 breakdown of the Soviet Union. Pictures of him at a gigantic military procession in the capital of Pyongyang in July, close by Kim and the decorated North Korean military medal, were areas of strength for an energetic exertion by Moscow to connect with the North. Shoigu said joint military drills were conceivable, given some information about a potential visit by Kim and an arrangement that would see North Korean arms supplies to Russia. Kremlin representative Dmitry Peskov would not comment. However, he stressed that Moscow esteems Pyongyang, adding, "North Korea is our neighbor, and we will additionally foster our relations without glancing back at other nations' viewpoints." Kim made his most memorable visit to Russia in 2019 and held chats with Putin that included vows of closer collaboration but weren't followed by any noticeable forward leaps. While the greater part of the Korean nation's military weapons stores are dated, their colossal size would offer the Russian military a likely key lifesaver in the midst of Europe's biggest land struggle since the Second Great War. Hongmin, an expert at Seoul's Korea Foundation for Public Unification, said Russia could look to lay out North Korea as a back base for its conflict endeavors, giving it an enormous arsenal of weapons. Russia is trusting that North Korea could quickly lay out help channels to give it war materials like ammo, bombs, and different supplies, Hong said. The U.S. said North Korea offered a few weapons to Russia's confidential military worker for hire, Wagner, in November. Both Russian and North Korean authorities have rejected the claim that Pyongyang has delivered any weapons to Russia or has the means to do so. U.S. authorities have projected Moscow's support for North Korean weapons as an impression of Russian military issues. White House Public Safety Guy Jake Sullivan said the nature of North Korean weapons was an open inquiry. It says a ton that Russia is going to a nation like North Korea to try to support its safeguard limit in a conflict that it anticipates will be over in 7 days, Sullivan said. While Washington has cautioned Pyongyang against sending weapons to Russia, which would disregard a United Nations ban on any arms shipments to and from North Korea, spectators say there is little the U.S. could do accordingly. They note that Moscow could share progress in atomic, rocket, and submarine innovation with Pyongyang in return for arms supplies, a move that could encourage Kim and raise significant dangers to provincial security. The U.S. and its partners have restricted arrangement choices in tending to this new test, the Washington-based Community for Key and Global Examinations said in an investigation. While the North's colossal stores could help the Russian conflict exertion, Moscow has imported drones from another partner, Iran, that have had a critical impact on the battle. Russia has utilized the Shahed detonating robots to strike Ukraine's foundation for over a year. After the underlying shock, Ukrainian air safeguards have improved their abilities to draw on them. However, the modest and straightforward robots that have a reach surpassing 1,500 kilometers, 930 miles, keep on causing critical harm. Russia purportedly purchased a creation permit from Iran and constructed its own manufacturing plant to gather the robots and produce a large number of them a year. Iran is supposed to at first provide the materials and innovation, with the plant continuously moving to locally delivered parts. Russian arms makers have made up for, at any rate, a portion of the hardware misfortunes in the contention and fostered a few new items, including satellite-directed skimming bombs and other accuracy weapons, to retaliate against Ukraine's mid-year counteroffensive. Right off the bat in the conflict, the wide utilization of robots by Ukraine caused weighty misfortunes for Russian powers and played a huge part in Moscow's tactical difficulties. Russian authorities recognized they hadn't given sufficient consideration to drones before the conflict and promised to rapidly fill the hole. One sort of efficiently manufactured detonating drone that had a noticeable effect is the Lancet, fit for hiding over the front line prior to hitting its objective. The transport lines of our modern military complex are working in 3 movements, and they will create however many weapons are needed depending on the situation to effectively safeguard the mother country, he said.